Bengals Jets. Interesting game, right? I made the point earlier in the week here on the show that it kind of feels like more of a must-win than last week in some ways, which is kind of funny to say that. But you're facing a team in the New York Jets. They're winless, right? And if you want to sit here and act like there's a chance for you to get back in this playoff race and have an opportunity to be alive when Joe Burrow comes back, right, all the good stuff everybody keeps talking about, you have to win this game. Right? It's the worst team in the National Football League. There's a couple of bad ones. There's a couple of bottom feeders. You could argue that some of the one-win teams maybe are worse than the Jets, but this is as bad as it gets, in my opinion. And they have some controversy there at the quarterback position. But I did want to play this soundbite on today's show from head coach Aaron Glenn. The Jets are just an unserious organization, and they have been for some time, right? Woody Johnson calling the shots, their owner. He was banging on Justin Fields earlier in the week, which, I don't necessarily have much of an issue with it, but usually when the owner's out there talking about football, like, you just kind of want to stay in your lane and let the coaches coach and let the players play, right? These owners, they're not football people, right? They're billionaires and they own the team and they obviously have a lot of pull, but they're not really football guys. And Woody Johnson has been in situations for most of my life where he's saying stuff that he probably shouldn't say. But Aaron Glenn was a terrific defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. He has an opportunity to come over and be the head coach. He's only 7 games in, but to me it just doesn't seem like it is going to work. But did want to play this soundbite of Aaron Glenn when they asked him what he was going to do at the quarterback position here on Sunday. Take a listen.
Who's your quarterback, AJ?
We will have a quarterback on Sunday. I will tell you that.
You're not going to announce who started?
I wouldn't want to give them a competitive advantage when I have that opportunity, but we will have a quarterback.
The list was long. So for
Yeah.
Tyrod, did you say this day today?
Yes.
What is he dealing with?
He's dealing with a knee. That's something that he had before.
So just, who your starting quarterback is going to be, you're just not announcing it. So it isn't like this week is a competition where you're going to have another.
I know who the starting quarterback's going to be.
Okay, you're just not telling me.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, right? You're a winless team. You're clearly dysfunctional, right? And he had the clip of him, they kicked a field goal that they thought was going to win a game a couple of weeks ago, and he was kind of acting a fool on the sidelines. You want to get excited, whatever, that's fine. But this has just been a disastrous start for Aaron Glenn. I mean, I don't know what he thinks he's doing. I mean, he has the right to do this. But we will have a quarterback on Sunday. Oh, you think so, Aaron? I think we all know that, right? You're going to go out there and play football. Of course, there's going to be somebody lined up behind the center. I mean, come on. He wants to be, sneaky about it. That's fine. Zach Taylor, of course, he said all the right things. The media here in Cincinnati asked him about it, and then they asked him who he was going to start at the offensive line. He's like, I think I'll keep that close to the vest there as well. Dylan Fairchild, by the way, was getting reps for Cincinnati. He missed last week. And last week, of course, the Bengals offensive line played the best they have played, and now he's back to getting reps with the starters. We'll talk about that a little bit on the show there as well. But Aaron Glenn, I mean, it's just it kind of feels like a one and done, especially with Woody Johnson and how quick he is to make decisions, how impulsive he is as an owner, right? But I just didn't. What are you doing there, Aaron Glenn? Oh, we will have a quarterback. Oh, you think so? You think so? So, hopefully Cincinnati can take it to him regardless of who the quarterback is. Kind of feels like it's going to be Fields, right? It felt like it was going to be Taylor. Now he pops up with this injury. Glenn, of course, said that, he's had the injury for a little bit here, something that he's been dealing with. Fields has been putrid. But if there's one team that Justin Fields might be able to look decent against, it's probably Cincinnati, because he's going to be able to run around back there all day. If you remember, of course, Aaron Rodgers was doing that last week for the Pittsburgh Steelers. As it relates to injuries, obviously, Trey Hendrickson is a piece that Cincinnati desperately wants back there on their football team, and he was limited in practice Wednesday. My gut tells me he's going to play. Apparently, he was close to playing on Thursday, and if it was a longer week and not a short week on a Thursday, maybe there was an opportunity for him to potentially play in a game against Pittsburgh. Hopefully, he can come back and provide some pass rush, because obviously that was non-existent without him. Tanner Hudson had the concussion. He missed the game. He was limited Wednesday. I expect him to return, and this was kind of the one for me. Cedric Johnson is back, and he was a full participant in practice. Cedric Johnson was a 6th-round pick out of Ole Miss a couple of years ago, and I was excited when the Bengals took him. I think he has some pass rush ability. I mean, he plays the edge rusher position. Wasn't active a ton last year, but I felt like when he was out there, he showed me some stuff. some positive things. And he was kind of a guy that I looked to this year, despite the early round picks that you have at that very same position. I was kind of hoping that, he could perhaps show a little something and show a little juice in that pass rush. And he's been out with the calf. And now he's back, and he's practicing, was full yesterday at practice. And I think this is a guy, Cincinnati, and I tweeted this yesterday, should give an opportunity sooner rather than later, even if Trey Hendrickson is able to go against the New York Jets. Because, look, the definition of stupidity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That would be sending out the same guys that Cincinnati has at the pass rush spot, right? I mean, it doesn't work, right? Without Trey, those guys, hopefully Shamar Stewart can get better. I'm not writing him off by any stretch. He's only played in, 3 games now, so I'm giving him a chance. But the Miles Murphy thing, you got to lick your wounds, right? First-round pick, you whiffed, right? Has he done in the Minnesota game, funnily enough, the game in which you got blown out? He was solid in that game. But it's kind of run its course. It's time to give another guy a chance. I get he was a late-round guy, but at the same time, he was a draft pick. There's 6th-round draft picks all over the National Football League that produce. And, he played in the SEC. He's had a lot of, big game experience in college. I thought he wasn't over his skis by any stretch in the limited playing time that he got last year. Cedric Johnson, a guy that I would like to see have an opportunity here. Charlie Jones, he's got a rib. He was a limited participant. And I said this going into the Pittsburgh game, and they didn't really make the change. I mean, I'm ready to see somebody else try it out at the return spots. There's really been no juice there from Charlie Jones. I get he ran one back in Cleveland last year, and he had the punt, of course, that he ran back his rookie year. But, whether it's Burton or, Tinsley or somebody else, I would like to see somebody else kind of get back out there and have an opportunity in the return game. Matt Lee's on the injury report, a backup offensive lineman, limited participant. Doesn't mean much. And then 2 guys that did not practice, and that includes Cam Sample, who's coming back from the Achilles. I liked Cam Sample before the Achilles injury. He, of course, an edge rusher, has had some opportunities this year, hasn't been able to do much, right? Remember they lined him up and asked him to be in coverage against a tight end against Detroit, and that was just a ridiculous situation there. And then Marco Wilson, this is significant, kind of a guy that they really trust in coverage, especially on third downs. He did not practice on Wednesday with a hamstring, and it was, of course, when he came back and he was able to go, that's what resulted in Cam Taylor Britt being a healthy scratch. So maybe 1 week after CTB being a healthy scratch, he'll be right back in there if Marco Wilson is not able to go. Sauce has a concussion for the Jets. He's their second best player behind Garrett Wilson, so that obviously is very, very noteworthy. And Wilson has the knee, and he did not participate in practice there either. Quincy Williams, our linebacker, he was a full go with the shoulder. Tyrod was limited, so we still don't know, as we're live here, who the quarterback's going to be. Jermaine Johnson was limited. Jay Tufele, former Cincinnati Bengal, he did not practice. And what else we got here? Stone Smart, their tight end, also did not practice there. But Sauce and Garrett, their 2 best players, and they haven't been practicing. So I would assume that they're probably leaning towards not participating. But, again, it's a Wednesday. Lots of people don't participate on Wednesdays, so we'll see. But this is a very favorable matchup for Cincinnati. I get it's an NFL team. I get they're winless. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be coming with everything that they got. But this is kind of an opportunity here for Cincinnati to, rattle off back-to-back wins and have a chance to generate some momentum going into a bye. I know you have Chicago as well before the bye, but that could be a massive game for Cincinnati. Despite the fact it's a winless team, that certainly puts them in a good position to get some momentum on their side. Joe Flacco, every single time he talks to the media, I just like him a little bit more. He had the comment yesterday that's kind of going viral a little bit about, how being in restaurants, and usually he would feel bad for the guy that he saw sitting there eating or drinking alone at the bar or at wherever the case may be. And then he made the comment yesterday that no, that guy's actually in heaven, and that kind of made me chuckle a little bit. But Joe Flacco seemingly has come in here and he's done everything right since he was asked to be the starter against Green Bay in a short week. It was absolutely tremendous, and hopefully he can continue that momentum here going against the Jets team. Of course, one of his former teams there as well in the New York Jets. And he's here in Cincinnati. His family is still in New Jersey, and he's just kind of here by himself playing ball, and he's got some really good weapons out there. And I think some of us are kind of holding our breath a little bit, right? Because we know Joe Flacco, of course, has thrown some interceptions throughout his career, and he's been perfect as it relates to protecting the football so far during his time in Cincinnati. and hopefully that's something that can continue, because if the Bengals win the turnover battle in this game against the Jets, they protect the football. I think they're going to be in a spot where they should win this game. They have more talent on the field despite all the issues that they have on the defensive side.